Brought to you by GatewayCitySavers.com.
Softli's Scouting Report, hosted by Cliff Saunders, exclusively on 101ESPN.com.
Welcome on into the Softli Scouting Report right here on 101ESPN.com. Alongside 101 ESPN NFL analyst Tony Softli, I'm Cliff Saunders. This week at the Edward Jones Dome, 3 o'clock start, the Atlanta Falcons come to town, take on the 4-5 St. Louis Rams. Rams with a heartbreaker last week. That's the only way you can describe what happened, the 23-20 loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, in terms of the division, how far did Steve Spagnuolo and company put themselves behind the 8 ball?
Well, no, I think, it was a tough game. Unfortunately, a tough loss on the road. And you know what? Let's forget about the 8 ball. Let's forget about the division. Let's just talk about one game at a time. Let's talk about 16-game schedule. You play the 16. If you're good enough to get in the dance, if you're good enough to win the division at the end, you have enough wins to win the division and get in the playoffs. That's what it's all about. But let's just take it one game at a time. It's an old cliche, but that's why it's a cliche, because it's true.
Let's talk about the team coming in here on Sunday. That would be the Atlanta Falcons, 7-2, big win over Baltimore last week, though Roddy White did push off on that last touchdown. We won't really go into that, but a lot of people are calling the Atlanta Falcons the best team in the NFC. How accurate is that statement? Well,
Cliff, I think they're a good team. I don't think they're the best team. I think they have a really good record. At 7-2, I do believe is what their record is. 2 losses, both of those coming on the road. But I'll tell you what, it's hard to look past the Philadelphia Eagles and Michael Vick. It's hard to look past, the New York Giants and Eli Manning. Both those teams have very good defenses. Both have exploding offenses. Both have very good running games. And the way Michael Vick's playing right now, coming off that injury, I think he's doing an exceptional job. He has a 3-headed monster at the receiver position. He's got a good tight end, a solid running back, and he's running himself very well. As long as he stays healthy, I think right now Philadelphia is probably the team to beat in the NFC. And the Packers, don't forget about the Packers. So those 4 teams in the mix, I think are very important.
Let's talk about Matt Ryan a little bit. Rams had a chance to draft him a few years ago, took Chris Long instead. I think it's worked out for Atlanta. What do you see when you look at Matt Ryan on tape?
Well, what you see is a very articulate quarterback. You see a young man that knows he has the command of the offense. He's very smart. He's, they run a no-huddle with this guy already. I mean, he's in his 3rd year in the league. A no-huddle offense. He has total command of it. It's a little problem when they go on the road because they can't use all the communicative tools, and the hand signals are set back a little bit because of the crowd noise and some of the stuff that they're trying to call the audibles and everything. But when they're at home, they're very good and they're very dangerous. He is one of the smartest quarterbacks that I've had the opportunity to meet at the Combine. You interview guys, you put them on the board. They try to teach you their offense. And it's amazing, that he regurgitated everything that we asked him, everything about his offense. He taught us several plays between Matt Ryan, Sam Bradford, Josh Freeman, and Tim Tebow. Those are the 4 smartest quarterbacks in the last 8 to 10 years at the Combine for me.
We still hear from Rams fans who say, they should have taken Matt Ryan. I heard that a lot last year doing the postgame show with Jim Hannafin. How close was Matt Ryan to becoming a St. Louis Ram?
He wasn't close at all, and I'll tell you why.
That's surprising to me.
Well, it's surprising. It surprised us too, because see, what it was the brain trust of general manager and the head coach at the time versus the scouting staff. And the biggest reason is they had Matt Leinart ahead of him, which shocked everybody in the room, one. And the second thing is they were afraid to upset Mark Bulger. By drafting another quarterback, bringing him in, they felt that Mark would just have a total meltdown, and they didn't want to go through that. So he wasn't really being considered, and that's why we went a different direction.
This Falcon offense, not only can they pass the ball with, obviously, Matt Ryan and Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez, but they run the ball almost like it was a couple of years ago. Michael Turner and his backup, Jason Snelling, he's not too shabby either.
Well, they have a 2-headed monster there. It's a pretty good combination, probably one of the best in the league. You got Turner. He's more of a bowling ball, 245 pounds. He has great feet. He can pick them up, put them down. He's got great burst and acceleration. He gets in the open field. He can do some things. He can create yards after contact. He can drag the pile. The thing about Snelling, though, and people don't really look at it, but his stats jump out, he is a good running back, but he's a better receiver. I think he's the 4th leading receiver on this team. He can catch the ball. He can do some things that Michael Turner can't, so they complement one another.
Speaking of receivers, let's talk about Roddy White a little bit here. He's not a guy that you think of right away when you talk about best receiver in the National Football League. Should they be talking about him?
Well, yeah, you can't. He's their leading receiver. He's got 70 catches on the year, almost 1,000 yards. He'll be a Pro Bowler again. You know, he's 6 foot, 210 pounds. He doesn't have great blazing speed like a Deshaun Jackson or a Macklin or somebody like that, or Andre Johnson at Houston. But he's a very, very good route runner. He knows how to get open. He can overpower the defensive back off the line of scrimmage. He's very effective in what they're asking him to do, and he is their go-to guy. He's their primary receiver, and he's very effective.
Obviously, we've been talking a lot about the Falcon offense, but how does the Ram defense stack up against Matt Ryan's offense?
Well, you know, the Falcons' offense is number 8. The Rams' defense is number 12, and that's the ranking in the National Football League, which is very good. You know, I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to stay with 7 men, just their front. Don't put 8 in the box against these guys because they can kill you with some of the weapons they have out on the edge. Put 7 in the box, slow down Roddy White, and don't let Tony Gonzalez get loose in the red zone. I think they have a good chance.
And finally, one last thing, matchups. What's the one matchup that the Rams can exploit on Sunday at the Edward Jones Dome?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think what the Rams need to do, and Sam Bradford showed it last week in the little bit of the 2-minute offense that you saw, I think what they need to do is they need to exploit what Atlanta's been doing with other people and go with a no-huddle offense. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and let Steven Jackson, SJ39, pound it in there. His 13-yard run last week against San Francisco was a very good. You saw his burst and acceleration, you know, his pad level, he's dragging the pile. And then, you know what, just play stout defense, and I think these guys can win this game.
Tony's going to join Randy Carricker and Rick Venturi for the Arby's pregame show on 101 ESPN Sunday at noon. And obviously, we'll have the call for you at 3 o'clock with Steve Savard and DeMarco Farr. And it's a long day for Tony because he's got to do a postgame show with me, filling in for Jim Hannafin.
I'm stuck with him.
Following the game. Yeah, that's what my wife says to me, too. So for Tony Softli, I'm Cliff Saunders. This has been the Softli Scouting Report on 101ESPN.com.